to go through the basic structures of Double Dagger, and so what we're going to do is start, and we'll kind of cover these one at a time, then we'll put them all together, and then we'll put it into its combat application, kind of a format. So the first one is, usually that's pretty simple. One of you guys. Okay, so if he attacks, I can just evade the motion. And sometimes we say we shadow it, and then we shadow it. Okay? So you could evade it, which means I just kind of shadow the motion. I'm staying clear of the weapon, well out of range. The second one will be Segung, which means I hit the hand. And once again, on this one, I'm staying about that same distance, but I'm meeting the force on the inside. That's what we call inside Segung, okay? Or that's called outside Segung, and this could also be Segung, okay? And then I could do what's called inside Segung, which is here, okay? Okay, so inside I'm using my inside hand, and outside I'm using my outside hand. Whether I go outside or inside the arm, it's still the outside hand. And this one I could go inside or outside the arm, and that's still the inside hand, okay? So the first one, I just want you to shadow that, kind of shadow that. The second one, I want you to Segung it. Segung it. The third one, I want you to Segung to the inside. Segung to the inside. So the footwork is really simple, really slow. Is I step out and turn. I step out and turn, creating a pathway for the weapon to be clear of my body. And so as I Segung it, again, I do the same, okay? And when I inside Segung it, see, I kind of use what we call the scissor step or the lateral triangle. But I'm going to step twice. I'm going to step once on impact and a second time to maintain my distance. I step once on impact and a second time to maintain the distance. Okay, so you could shadow it, you could Segung it, and you could Segung it on the inside. Any question on those three? All of these, you're clear of the weapon. Okay, let's try it. We get in martial art training. What we do is we have a tendency to what I call it a 0-1, -1, or 0+1, okay? And a lot of time we do it because of the training environment, okay? In other words, I'm going to tell you to do this because it's too crowded. And if you do it more realistically, you guys are not going to be able to train without bumping into each other. So what you do here is when he feeds me the first series and I shadow it, okay, I do that, then we go back to 0. Okay, then he feeds me the second series and I Segung it, and then again for distance sake, we just go back and reset at 0. That can get you killed in real life, and that's really important that you understand this is a training method so that we can teach a curriculum safely. The application of it, no, it would never be like that. And a lot of times, unfortunately, the training method gets taught as the fighting art. And the fighting art looks nothing like the training method. But you have to start somewhere. And so this is what we call a process, right? We're making something, but we're in the middle of the process. It's not done yet. So don't take this and directly try to apply it. I would be moving initially before he made a move, and then I would try to kill him right away. I'm not going to do Segung, Segung, inside, outside, shadow, shadow. I would never do it that way. But so that you learn it, we do the same thing on both sides. Shadow, shadow, go back. Segung, Segung, go back. Segung, Segung, right? It's just for training. So, but I want you to try to do that so everybody's not running into each other, right? So when I feed him, I'm going to feed a penetrating attack, but I just go back, and then I feed it, and then I just go back, so that you use up as little space as you can, because we're in a small school. Okay, any questions? Okay, let's go. Let's try it. Okay, so the next one, once again, this is just a base curriculum. So when he slashes here, I do what's called Sakai. Sakai, okay? And so what I'm doing is, I want to make slow motion. I want to make sure I get outside of the arc of that. What I'm doing is allowing it to pass by and stabbing here, see? And once again, I would never do this Sakai to Sakai. We're just working both sides. So I go here. Essentially, that footwork is the same. But I'm what? I'm pressing upon his body. And later on, anytime I Sakai, see, there's a couple of things that go along with that. But right now, I just want you to get the foot position. So, ride that into the body. See that? So when he slashes, ride that into the body. You can see now where the scissor would come in if I was going to apply that, see? But right now, I just want to do the ride on both sides. See that? Sometimes we call it corkscrew ride. Okay, any question there? Okay, all right, let's try it. Try to move through this base material quickly so we can go into the structure. Now the gunti, a lot of times, you got to be careful doing this too. So when he slashes, I'm making contact. So that's like just like inside Segung. Now I can combine that with outside Segung and cut both sides of the weapon. Okay? The danger here is make sure you're still clear of the weapon because it's not a block. Okay? And I'm impeding so you could say, I like to do it like this myself. I like to do that like that, Segung to Sakai. That's how I like to do my scissor. Because it allows me to kind of control that space a little bit, see? But the curriculum states it should be like that. Now he does it on this side. So I use what we call scissor step with scissor motion. And this can be done like this, slow motion. I'll feed 1, 2. So that's what we call open closed, okay? So I want you to do it like this. 1, open back up, 1. That's how you'll feed it. The second one, you'll do 1, 2. 1, 2, okay? Okay, so once again, over here now, the first one, I'll do the scissor open, and then the scissor open, okay? Then I'll do the scissor open, and the scissor closed, okay? Then I'll do on this side the scissor open, and the scissor closed, okay? Then I'll do over here the scissor open, and the scissor closed. Then again, the scissor on this side open, and then the scissor closed. So you're kind of covering all the bases with that. If you have any trouble, just do this. Slash, slash. Okay? See it? But don't do this. Slash. Make sure to be clear of the weapon. See? Okay, I'm clear completely of the weapon. And preferably for me, like I said, I like to impede it before I impose the ride. See? But that's just my preference, okay? Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's try it of application manner. But I want to get through this material because I want to move on to the next phase. But over here we call this, and I'm not teaching this in order, but this is Altacada Serrada, or we call it elbow roll. So a lot of times this will be used in the middle range, and see, that's already what? That's already trying to cut him, see, and then, so I'm really dusting him off pretty good. But for the structure, we go like that. So that is a shielding technique, or karasak, and then a Sakai together. So when I do Altacada Serrada, I meet it on the inside and go here, meet it on the inside and go here, okay? In reality, that would probably have all kinds of stuff happening at the same time, right? But right now, I just want you to get the structure, and this is curriculum, see? So that is what we call Altacada Serrada, okay? Or sometimes we call it outside switch, okay, when we do the double stick. But that's the same technique in double stick. The difference is the penetration. But I could go like that, see, that's already what? See, I'm already here. As that other one comes in, see, I already what? I'm already stabulating him pretty good. Okay, but you never use it like that. But I just want you to practice it like this, see? Not like that, like this. Okay, just very, right? Okay, and that's what we call, notice the footwork is the same as this one. Okay, but I'm on the inside and I move quickly. I move quickly away from that weapon. Okay, any question? Okay, let's try that. Okay, the next one I'm going to do out of sequence that I've got written down because you need this really to do the next one. So when he slashes here, if I'm in the inside position, this is what we call palisade. Okay, I move to here. See that? And I scoop it out. Now he goes here, and that's called palisade. So I just scoop it from high to low. And this one comes back, that's actually right. Okay, so when he's here, I just kind of palisade this. And really, anytime I palisade, that should pick up his neck on the way by. Whether it's this way, see, or whether it's this way, see. And some people do it like that, see that? And some people do it like that, and that's okay too. But the thing is, see, I want to move this from high to low and from high to low. And then I go from this side, high to low and high to low. That's called palisade. Okay, and really this is, again, I would never use this technique just out of the blue, but it's part of the structure, see? And that should cut it, and that should cut it. See, now I'm in this zone here. Any question on palisade? So when I palisade, see, I make a foot motion, left, right, left. Make a foot motion, right, left, right. See that? Okay, so you're still stepping, but the motions are a little bit shorter because you're already inside. And you're sticking to the opponent. Okay, let's go. What we call the shield or the cover and hit, or something we call karasak, which means simply to shield. So I'm covering and hitting together. Now this one is a complex motion, because if I cover and hit, I will usually palisade as well with that motion. And this is where a lot of times you start getting into disarming range. But I cover and hit, and I palisade together. See that? And once again, I would never do these together like this. The second one is sometimes when I cover and hit, I elbow roll. When I cover and hit, I elbow roll. Okay? And probably more likely those would use opposite each other, not together. Okay? But if I do that Sakai, see, I will cover and hit a lot of times, and then palisade, and then see, I might end up doing elbow roll if he keeps coming. Yeah, see that? That might be where the technique would flow together. But right now, I want you to practice it like that. The important factor here, make sure you get this thrust. Make sure you keep it on his body until you what? Cut his arm at the bottom. Once again, as I cover and hit, as I elbow roll, I maintain that deterrent. See that? Again, when I cover and hit, and I palisade here, see, this one then becomes the threatening factor. So when I cover and hit, and I palisade, this one comes back to center line, to the core. Any question on those? That's really one technique, but it has two sub-partners. So it's cover and hit to palisade, or cover and hit to Altacada, Serrada, or elbow roll, okay? And that's the last one, okay, I think. Yes. Okay, let's give that a try, man. The base structure, okay? And that base structure from a very dry feed, right? Just kind of, okay? So now what we're going to do is go in and we're going to work it from more of what we call an abecedario, which means he's just going to feed me the numbers, okay? And then I'm going to respond to that. So we're going to start it off with the simplest. So as he feeds me the numbers, I'm going to use Gunti on all of these. So when he feeds me number 1, see, I'm going to scissor that. When he comes back number 4, I'm going to scissor that. When he goes number 3, I'm going to scissor that. And you see, this looks just like your double stick, right? When he goes number 4, I'll scissor that. See, a lot of times, see, that's already in the body, but don't, just make sure you go here. Number 5, scissor it. Number 6, scissor it. And right now, we're just focusing on a single hand feed. We'll get to the double hand feed, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? So you're basically just scissoring. Now, 1, slow motion, go back and come in to stay in the camera. Go back and then come in. Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is what we call a dry fire feed, right? Because each time I feed him, I step in, and then I step back. Then I step in, then I step back. Then I step in, and again, this is just to keep from chasing each other all over the room. In reality, I don't really want to do it this way. But you see that? So you're just practicing the technique itself. It's not application. Any questions? Okay, if you do your right side, do your left side. Okay, and just do 5 angles, okay? The 5 angles, usually with knife, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then do 6. And you could do 7 if you want, okay? That's the 7 I only want you to do. Okay, let's try it now. Get a little bit more of a moving, living, breathing environment. So when he attacks here, the first one, I'm going to outside Segung that. The next one here, he's going to slash. I'm going to ride that. I'm right here now. I'm going to cover and hit that. And I'm going to impregnate him. Penetrate him. Okay, I'm going to stab here and here again, and I'm going to take that first dagger. Over here now, that's when Pali Soot works the best. I cut him on the way by, stab him again, slash his hip, thrust his center line, and panastas, or cut the weapon out here, thrusting the armpit. Okay, and then you can move on from there, but you really don't need to be taught that. So I move here and I Segung this. See that? I Sakai this. I cover and hit, moving his base, striking him 4 times. Pali Soot is the 5th slash, and the 6th slash, and the 7th, and the 8th, and the 9th, and the 10th slash or thrust into the body, okay? So 1 is I cut here. 2, I Sakai this. I'm in position to cover and hit this. See that? Okay? Bring it down. Cut the arm. Thrust into the body. Thrust into the body again. Eject the weapon and thrust into the body. Cut the airway. Cut the wrist. Slash the hip. Slash the neck. Slash the hip. Thrust the body. Slash the wrist. Thrust the body. And then finish off whatever happens to be left of that. So the Sakai to the, the Segung to the Sakai, to the cover and hit, to the Altacada Serrada, to the thrust, to the disarm, to the Pali Soot, to the thrust, to the disarm. That's your first application drill. See that? And again, we're not sparring yet. We're just cutting, creating the angle. Perfect. Okay, any question on that one? Okay, let's give it a roll. Slashes with this hand and a thrust with that hand. That's going to set up what's going to possibly happen. So when I go like that and I scissor this one and I scissor this one, that thrust with that hand, see, I got to cover that. Now I'm in danger here because if I try to disarm this, he's probably going to stab me. So the minute I get here, see, the minute I get here, when he goes here, that's where the Altacada Serrada that penetrates is good. See where I thrust and slash and thrust and thrust? Now when he thrusts back, that's when I take that number 5. Then I can cut, pretty much take that one. At that point you're disarming a corpse anyway, right? But what I want you to look at, possibly, that this thing, really in front of the camera. So as I cut this, see that? And this comes back and I cut this, that one is already going into the body before this even covers this. That's already into the body. See, but if I go here and take this, that's probably going to cut me. So the minute I know I'm inside, I just go to here. But see where the thrust is? See where the thrust is? See where the slash is? See where the thrust is? I want to take this, but he comes back. So I thrust again, and that's where the disarm takes place. At this moment, see, I can palisade with relative ease because it's amazing that he's even still holding the weapon and still standing erect, right? Because I already let the air out of his tires, right? So when I scissor this, that's a good nasty knock, see? That's already into the, I want to disarm this, but that comes. See where that, see this? I want to disarm this, but that comes. That disarm will be pretty natural, and that one too. See that? Okay? Okay, so we're going to scissor, and that's Karasak, or shield, cover, and hit. Altacada Serrada with pressure. Cover and hit right to the disarm. Palisade to the secondary motion to the disarm. That's technique number 2. Any question? Okay, let's try it, please. And you assimilate the structure into your body, and then each and every week you can practice different training methodologies, okay? But you want to establish the ability to flow from one thing to the next. So the next thing, we're going to take what we just used, first what we learned in the structure, then what we built on in these two, we just did 2 basic types of scenarios. Now we're going to start it, but then we're going to build it into more of a basic flowing exercise, okay? So what's happening here is that there's a couple of things that can happen. If I get caught on the inside, I have to deal with the weapon. Okay, now there's a couple of things that can happen. He can slash my face high, which I'll cut his throat, or he could thrust me low, which I'll stab his stomach. But then he's probably going to come back, so then I have to cover again. So this gets me into what we call a Hubud cover. Lift, now go here, now thrust me here, now slash me here, and I lift up. Now I thrust him here, I slash him here, lift up, and then lift up. See that? So this is a basic Hubud structure. Okay, see that? Now this is really here, and that's really there, right? But we're not executing. We're establishing a base of fire flow from which we will execute many, many variables under a what? A moving, instead of a 1, 2, 3, it's just a constant cycle of movement. And from there, we will insert every one of those methods, okay, and do it more, we call it play to learn. So we're just playing here. The basic play is this, and this, and this, and this. But I show you this because that's how maybe I got here. See, that's how I got here. Now I'm here, so we're playing this cycle. See the hand? See the footwork? We're not really trying to get each other. I'm allowing him, he's allowing me, I allow him. We're just playing this. Now from this play, we will start to move and learn. Right now, we establish this as a base of fire, right? Okay? It's just a Hubud. I know that that's already a cut and that's a thrust, and that's thrust, 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 thrust. If we're fighting, but we're just playing. See, that's already in the, see, that's, I'm not going to let him do anything. But over here, I let him stab me, I let him block it. He lets me block it, see, without stabbing each other yet. See that? That's the base of fire I want you to pick up. From that base of fire, we have all kinds of what? Segundos. Okay? Let's try the base of fire. He's like that. I'm here. See that? That is the thrust. I let the weapon pass. Thrust, thrust, disarm, thrust. I allow this one to come wherever he wants to come. I could palisade. If it's narrow, I could Sakai. If it's low, I shield. Okay? He'll have 3 options. You should deal with all 3 and disarm it there. Okay? Remember, our intent is never really to disarm our opponent. Our intent is to stab them a lot. The disarms are a process resulting from those stabs or slashes. But if I get the weapon out of his hand, now he can't stab me with it no more, right? So ideally, eventually, I want that weapon out. See where that is? See where that's the, see, that could be in the eyeball already. I make pressure here to allow that to release. Move to that position. Cover and hit. Disarm, okay? Number 2. Okay, cover, drop, insert, Altacada Serrada. Now he slashes high with a wide arc. So I palisade. Thrust, disarm, and then I palisade here. Thrust, thrust, disarm. Okay? All right, the next one he'll slash with a narrow arc. So I go like that, he thrusticates, I enter here, I thrust, I disarm, it's a narrow arc, so I Altacada Serrada that. Okay, see it? Okay. Okay, so that's the 3. After he deals with this one, okay, cover and hit to Altacada Serrada, he disarms that at the bottom. Now 3 things are going to happen after this. One is I thrust. He'll E-pick this. Okay? 2 is I slash with the wide arc. So he has to palisade that. Okay? Okay? 3 is I slash with a narrow arc. See that? Okay? So he's got to cover that because you're here, yeah, already. So he's got to cover that, but he has to let that go. It's difficult to palisade that angle. So he cuts my mic and then takes that thing out like that. See that? That's the 3 things I want you to practice. From there, okay? Okay, let's try. But if I'm going like this now, we're in this basic flow. Now what I want you to do is within that flow, insert. So one person is a feeder and the other person now, see, I'm starting to what? Find my what? All my techniques from, okay, from the base of fire drill here. See, I just insert. See where that comes from? I don't care. See, I'm not trying to disarm. I'm just trying to what? Learn how to what? Flow past anything he might happen to give me. So I just kind of flow past anything he might happen to give, okay? So you're just there and just kind of work it. Now I feed him. All I do is feed this. I might feed here. But see, I just feed it at that rhythm. I don't speed up and I don't slow down. If I slow down, I'm cheating him. If I speed up, I'm also cheating him and possibly get my teeth knocked out. So you see, I'm just kind of feeding and letting him kind of figure out where to insert the what? The hits that are going to set up all the techniques, right? Okay, any question? So you're going to do about 2 minutes of receiving and 2 minutes of feeding. That's only fair, guys. Okay, let's go. that part is why I like the soft daggers. Because once I use the soft daggers, I can impede my training partner's forward progress and impede the progress of the weapon without really getting those. That's pretty painful, even with a plastic and rubber dagger. So the soft daggers, they allow us to execute more realistically our offensive tactics and our defensive tactics, what I believe enhance your understanding of the art far and above over what people say training with live blades. I don't see how you can fucking survive with that shit. I just don't see it. But I think if you understand what's going on, learn to apply the force, learn to avoid the force, you will find out that knife attacks are survivable. And the techniques all here are usable, but not as presented in the curriculum. And this is where it gets dangerous. People try to take that curriculum and use it as a technique in combat. It is worthless without tactics and strategy. If you don't have the understanding of when to apply it, it's completely unusable. However, understanding the tactics and strategy without the base core curriculum, you don't have any tools. You just have an understanding of how to set up nothing. So you've got to go through that process, digest that information, make it part of your system. We take ownership of that and then apply it in as many variable types of situations you can put it. But first you got to be able to what? Do the technique. Then you got to be able to do it in kind of a flow or environmental situation. And then you can put it into sparring, but you need soft daggers. Because sparring with the hard daggers, you can't really execute it. So subconsciously you're trying to not hurt your partner and therefore don't give a real reaction or a real feed. And if you do want to hurt your partner, get the out of my school. Okay, any question there, Knuckles? All right, we'll see you guys next time. Okay, so we'll pick it up.